in the chat. And after the session, please fill out the survey. Our information will be available at the end. And I believe this presentation will be available in the folder later. So I also want to encourage everyone to get take part in this special event we have here, the documentary film by Camilla and Jim Beckett, The Seeds of Vandana Shiva. You can get your tickets now and join us later for the director's talk with an introduction by Ken Green of seedshed.org. And those links will be sent to you after you buy a ticket. Of course, go ahead and amplify our voice on the social media using hashtags, hashtag Seed Library Summit, hashtag Save Share, hashtag Seed Library. Okay, so the overview here is I'm Hilly Salo, and I'm going to talk about getting started with One Seed, One Community. And Elizabeth will follow with that One Seed, One Community in the San Luis Obispo area at their seed exchange. And then after, for time, we'll share and have some questions. And once again, the session's being recorded. And at this time, I'd like to make a land acknowledgement. More information about that can be found at the Native Lands website. But right now, we want to acknowledge and pay respect to the Ohlone and the Muwekma Ohlone people. They are the traditional custodians of the land here where we work, live, learn, and pray. So this is the One Seed, One Community session, and I'm Hilly Salo. I'm a long-term gardener here in the Silicon Valley, and I'm a University of California Cooperative Extension Master Gardener since 2009 in Santa Clara County. Master gardeners have a mission to bring scientifically based horticultural information to the public. And I've been involved with seed libraries since 2012. And in 2014, I attended the famous seed school with Bill McDorman and Belle Starr. And in 2014, I started One Seed, One Community with our local seed libraries to engage the community with seed saving and seed libraries. So One Seed, One Community aims to strengthen our communities by providing a shared experience that teaches people how to grow nutritious food and save seeds. It's an open source community initiative based on community reading programs where the communities are encouraged to read a book together and engage in programming exploring the themes around the book. In One Seed, One Community, the community is encouraged to grow one seed variety together. And you can find all the information you need at this website, theseedlibraries.net. And you go to the title here at the end, More, and you get a drop-down menu that takes you to resources, followed by the one on the left where you find highlighted the special projects. And the top of the last drop-down menu will show you One Seed, One Community. And a lot of this information is highlighted here, including logistics and other ideas for you. In seed sharing, in seed saving, sharing is really important. It's how we build diversity into the genetics of the varieties we are saving. So individually, most of us have a very small gene pool, not much larger than the palm of your hand or your seed packet. And most gardeners don't really have large enough gardens today to sustain plant numbers needed to maintain the genetics in that variety. Corn, for example, is recommended to have 200 plants. So together, we can create a much larger gene pool than we can by ourselves. And that's what One Seed, One Community is all about. So initially, a lot of seed was given away. and not much really came back. And in 2016, Daniel Saleri, a researcher at UC, University of California, Santa Barbara, published a paper in which she had surveyed all the seed libraries in California at the time and determined that on average, less than 7% of seeds borrowed were being returned. So that led to a new campaign, Save a Row for Diversity, to share with friends, neighbors, and seed library. So based on Grow a Row for the Hungry, where folks will grow a row in their garden to give food to people, One Seed, One Community gives the opportunity of learning to grow food for yourself. So now we gather folks' emails in exchange for a seed packet for a seed saving grow along. Monthly emails are sent out with information about what's going on in the garden and how to save seed. Your One Seed, One Community program has great potential. As you gather your One Seed, One Community seed savers together, seed stewards can be identified. Those folks who may be willing to steward a variety they love for the seed library. That is to grow and save on a regular basis one variety for its community. So during the pandemic, new ways to share seeds were explored, thinking about decentralizing and localizing. So seed sharing stations and free little seed libraries were popping up. And this is a great way to get into the community directly. Anything from a box on the street to a fancy little house there. So in addition, the last couple of years, One Seed, One Community has seen expansion statewide in California, which has led to a research project, which is a collaboration of citizen scientists and university researchers into adaptation of beans. So starting out the basics, you want to choose a seed. You're going to collect names and emails, and zip codes can be helpful. And you're going to start your seed saving grow along by sending monthly informational emails. And finally, gather for the great bean weigh-in party. You come together, weigh our beans, and share our stories. So getting started, you want to look for an easy bean or an easy seed. So an easy seed, many seed savers are new seed savers who are also new gardeners. The pandemic has brought out many, many new gardeners. So we want to have easy seeds so they can be successful. And seeds that help you not worry about cross-pollinations are your self-pollinating plants. They're good because their offspring will come true to type, meaning that they're going to look like the parent. Plants that are self-pollinating include the tomatoes, lettuce, peas, and beans. But for One Seed, One Community, it's recommended to choose a bean or a pea, depending on your season, for a few reasons. One, your beans and peas are larger seeds. They're easier to handle, easier to see, and it makes it great for all ages to participate in programs that you might develop around these seeds. And you want to find something that's pretty. So there's nothing greater. It's like Christmas when you open up a seed pod with your brand new fresh beans, all dried and pretty colors. So see that you can find a pretty bean as you can. Now, many folks, they're excited about tomatoes. Tomatoes are a crop that many, many people grow, but they can be a challenge to start from seeds, especially if you're just starting out. There's subtropical plants that need a long season and often need to be started indoors on heat mats, under lights, in many, many places. So it's recommended to go for a bean. Also, the tomato seeds are pretty small. So when you're picking a bean, try and find something that's unique. Maybe something that's known for growing in your area, or maybe you have a long-term neighbor who's been growing something for a very long time, maybe even has a story. Yeah, look around. And of course, we noticed you want to have a gorgeous bean. Now, many gorgeous beans tend to be dry beans that we use for soup. And in our gardens today, we often don't have space to grow as many beans as we might in order to grow beans for your soup. More people prefer to grow your green beans, your snap beans, or look for a dual purpose bean, a bean that can be eaten green or dry. Another thought is bush beans. Great about bush beans is no added equipment needed, no poles, no trellis. However, they can be a little less on their yields. Excuse me. Bush beans tend to come to harvest all at once. And people who can love that. They get all the beans they need when they need them. Whereas pole beans tend to harvest over the season right up till frost, and you may get a greater yield on them. Another place to look is your slow food arc of taste. Slow Food's an international organization that's mission is to bring good, clean, fair food to all. And they've developed the Arc of Taste. Sorry. The Arc of Taste is a catalog of foods that have been vetted and deemed um, on the verge of extinction, and we want to continue growing them and eating them so we can continue to see them on our plates. So where to find these varieties? One place to look is the farmer's market. It's a really good place. They often have unique varieties there, and the beans are usually of good quality that you can get some good germination. Also, you can look for your regional seed companies, see if they have something local that looks interesting, or even farther afield, looking to larger seed conservancy projects that sell seeds such as Seed Savers Exchange and the Native Seed Search. These are in the United States. Or you can grow your own, or maybe you have grown your own. You have enough for a project of one seed, one community, or maybe you would grow for a future one seed, one community. Or look to local farmers. They may have seeds you can get, or consider growing seeds for your project. So the logistics. How many seeds do we want to give to people? Well, one, we want to look at like how many beans are in a pound of your type of variety. For example, the Cherokee Trail of Tears bean has about 1,600 beans in a pound. So, for example, here, if you were to take all your packets with the same amount of seeds, and you might try 20, 20 is a good number. It gives you a row of 6 to 8 feet of a bean plants. And when you divide 20 into your 1,600, that's about 80 seed packets. So you can kind of figure out what you want based on those numbers. You don't necessarily have to have all the same amounts. You could have small packets for small gardens and bigger packets for those with big gardens. This has also been detailed online at the website. And packing all those seeds can seem a bit overwhelming, but if you can gather your people in a seed packing party, you have this seed packing party. It could be like any party. You could have music, food, but basically you start a little assembly line. And the key to that is to find like a spoon or something that measures approximately what you want to put in your seed packets, and then it goes quite quickly as you pack these seeds with your filling your spoon, etc. And you can get creative. Maybe if we're not actually gathering, maybe there's a way that folks can do this virtually. It's time to do some sort of exploration in that venue. And it also more details you can find at the website. You might want to try and increase your participation online. Once again, a whole bunch of good ideas, including hooking up with your master gardeners, or drawing a blank here. Yes, or yeah, going to the farmer's market and getting signups there. So for your seed saving grow along, all that correspondence has been placed online. I have to thank Rebecca Newbern for putting that all together. And it has all the monthly emails that go through each month about what's happening in a garden and what to look for. Those emails are oriented to the San Francisco Bay Area, but you can localize them for your area with the growing season and including, local events that may be going on that you want to key people in about what's going on with seed saving. And finally, assuming perhaps in the future we could gather together in person, we gather for the great bean weigh-in. So we gather, we weigh the beans to admire our collective crop haul and share our stories, our good times, our bad times, and learn how growing went, and maybe a seed exchange and some food. The possibilities are endless, and if we can't gather together in person, we can still try and be creative in the future to see how we can gather to make our great bean weigh-in party happen. So that's the nuts and bolts for starting a One Seed, One Community program. And I'll turn it over to Elizabeth Johnson, who can share how that went for them in the San Luis Obispo seed exchange. Thank you. But I have to do it back to you, right?
Wait a second.
Stop sharing. Okay.
Okay, so hi everybody. I'm Elizabeth Johnson. I am living in the beautiful coastal and oak grasslands that are the traditional unceded territory of the Northern Chumash people. It is a beautiful and wonderful place. Let's see, I need to get the slideshow going. I'll play from start. Okay. San Luis Obispo, I have been an organic gardener for many years, over 30 years. 2006, after working on an anti-GMO campaign, I helped found the SLO Seed Exchange as a local seed saving group. And it has had wonderful iterations over the years of many things, many people, many different ways of gathering together. We've had 9 seed exchanges out of the 15 years, and lots of great things have come out of it. One of the great things is the One Seed, One Community that we learned from Hilly Salo from doing it for 3 years there and taking it statewide. These were the goals we initiated for it. Educate our community to grow bean from seed to seed. Absolutely. One plant we need to know how to grow from seed to seed in a healthy and good way. Grow it as a commitment to earth and food security. Inspire people to fall in love with a seed. What is not to love about a seed? Save our heirloom seeds and share them with others. organizing it, we need to always create new pathways for seed and seed security. And this project was one of them. 4 of us were regional organizers for that first year in 2019. And this was, my background is art and design. So I put together a poster for us. And this reflects the story that we used, reflects, a colonizer background. So it's the story that's told to us, but it's not the story that is the story of the people who experienced it. And Joanna, maybe you can talk about that a little bit when I'm done. But we started, it's a slow food arc of taste for flavor as a green bean and as a dry black bean. And I absolutely love the dry bean, my very favorite. We use this sheet in the libraries as a sign-up sheet. All the seed packets were kept separately by the librarian, and you had to add your name and email, and zip code was handy too. So once you did that, you received a number 6 coin envelope that had at least 23 beans in it that included the story and a contact sticker for me on the back. Our librarian, research librarian, created these cards to put in the catalog so that people could pull it out and take it to the front for a sign up. I love participatory everything and collaborative projects. So I urge people to tell stories along the way and send photos. And so we did that. And you'll see as we go, Julian is a Finnish carpenter. That shows in his divine trellis there. There'll be some words on the lower left that seem important, and the ones in italic are actually quotes from participants that sent me an email. And most of the slides were shared with everybody, most of the pictures. Kathy became a really wonderful relationship, as seeds often create relationships with friends and new friends. And she has been doing a 4-H nutrition and gardening class for a number of years, and she brought me in as a seed mentor. So I've gotten to know her through that, and she and her kids were all part of the project. This is my Peruvian friend Amalia. Her beans are growing on her ancient Peruvian corn stalks, and this was the harvest from her corn. Pretty amazing. Audrey and Hazel went for the teepee. Beautiful plants, well planted. And there's Hazel. My cousin Karen joined the project and had a wonderful crop and sent back lots of seeds for it. And I will say everybody did it their own way. These folks ate all their beans fresh, and they ended up not having very few to share of the dry. Karen sent back quite a lot, ½ pound at least. Eileen works at a organic family farm, and she asked for a ½ pound of the seed, which she received. And she was a first-time grower. She grew out her ½ pound of these beans. She learned how to do it, how to clean them, how to save them, and how to package them. And she made her own labels for 1 pound bags and sold all of her beans within a few weeks at the farm stand. And for the next year project, the 2020 project, she planned to grow it again this variety again, and also went to the Rancho Gordo catalog and talked to me about some beans I could share with her. These Cherokee Trail of Tear beans are absolutely gorgeous, fresh dried, shining, beautiful. One Cool Earth is a gardening program for elementary schools in our county, all over the county. At this particular school is a bilingual school for Spanish English, and they grew their beans on corn. This was their harvest. They didn't turn in any seeds for the big mix. They ate them. They made a big hummus and ate them. Diversity and resilience depend on people doing things differently in different soils at different latitudes with different attitudes, all supporting biodiversity. To me, that is extremely important. So we went to and supporting how everyone approaches their project. Nipomo Libraries got some help and set up a little bed there outside the back of the library, and they fenced it off from squirrels and gophers, and got a nice trellis going. The librarian there also is a gardener, so that was really special too. It grew and grew. And Heidi loves her beans fresh, so she was eating the green beans. And she harvested the dried beans, letting them dry on the plant all the way until she had good dry beans. When we met every year at the National Heirloom Expo, seed librarians have a meeting. Our breakout group discussed seed origin accountability, and project organizers deepened our research for labeling that we used in the 2020 One Seed, One Community adaptation and diversity tracks. And especially since beans are common beans, runner beans, and lima beans are all completely indigenous origin, and from Mexico, Guatemala, and Peru mostly. When I posted on Facebook, the project, I heard from Denise Lawrence in Missouri, I believe. She said, my great-grandmother was bought for a horse and a bottle of whiskey off the Trail of Tears and sold to an Irish farmer in Tennessee. I asked if we could include her story here, and she said yes. And I asked if she would like some seeds. So she received some seeds. I would be honored to plant some beans or maize from that time. It was funny to me because I was proud to be Cherokee, part Cherokee, and a lot of my family acted like it was taboo. I know that the man's last name was Massey that she was sold to, and my grandmother was born February 14th, 1898, Rosie Bell Massey. Thank you for thinking of our ancestors. In October, everybody was, we had finished our harvest, and Julia Schwabel is a local surfer here, young woman. She has never grown anything to seed, doesn't know anything about it, but was very interested and happy to do a poster for our 9th annual seed exchange, where we gathered at the Central County Library Community Room. And here we are, and the younger folks there are part of the 4-H gardening and seed saving group, and they were part of the project. They helped grow these beans and helped pick them, helped and now they're harvesting what they brought that still needed harvest. As people came in the front door there, that wide open space, we circled up, introduced ourselves, but the front table there was the receiving table for seeds. Some people sent their seeds by mail. Some delivered them to a local library that got them to me, and some brought them in that night. Our set of screens were donated years ago to Slow Seed Exchange by Seed Matters, Sarah McCammett at that time. So our county library table showing the storyboard that Heidi made from her Nipomo project and resource material that we had helped them gather. And by this time, after several years of doing the seed catalog, seed library project, now they know to bring seeds to every event that they participate in to give away to the public. They give away books too. This is Heidi's storyboard that she had posted in her library in Nipomo. These are our intrepid librarians, Michelle and Antoinette. I work mostly with Antoinette on the right in Los Osos, and we have somebody on this session today from that library. And Antoinette is just great, and she runs the seed library there. She had a great time that night, but she has a great time at all the events, and but she enjoyed everything about it. And you'll hear in a little bit about Seed Story Night that we do at her library. And she stayed after everybody else was gone. This is our weighing table. Carrie on the left documented all the weights as they came in. They were put on in the chock full of nuts can and weighed, and then they were added to the big pot. Francis is on the right. He brought in his seed and helped with pretty much everything. Seeds came in all different ways. Some a lot, some a few, some what they received in the beginning. Some people the snails got them, or the squirrels got them, or something. So it was a total variety of our 50 enrollees. Out of the growers, we probably, from the 10-pound bag of original seed, 15 pounds, 4 ounces was returned of dry beans that night we weighed. And the original, since we didn't use 5 or 6 pounds, those were rebagged and used as giveaways for the evening. First to the people who were not able to get a crop themselves, and then to everybody. This is looking down in that big pot. Food table by 4-H Gardening. Their finger foods were made from the black beans, salsas dip, and of course, black bean chocolate brownies. Plates and napkins were zero waste. My friend, artist, and gardener extraordinaire, Melinda, brought zero waste mint tea to share in her glass cups. At every event, I like to put out a display table showing diversity of mostly stable crop varieties. We're so used to seeing one thing of a kind in grocery stores. That is changing now, but it's good to recall and for people to try growing out different things. In the foreground, you have the glass gem corn, the most photographed corn in the universe. We have some of the Flint corn this is called out of Carol Deppy's popcorn, roasting corn, Pohuake blue corn, all kinds of beans, all kinds of garbanzo, and several kinds of sorghum. So 2020, we did the accountability, adaptation, and diversity. Our growing season here is and was for the northern Chumash 12 months out of the year. Food crops were managed as wild plants, and seed saving was not a terribly big deal. But we need to learn it and do it. So this is our, after all the beans were weighed and mixed, envelopes were ready to start packaging them for the 2020 adaptation. So people are packaging, I guess, 25 seeds per pack. And that is 20 seeds is for beans is the variety genetic preservation. And so I always add a few more for germination. So poster that we put them together and added what we had researched was the original Cherokee name, the Gonagai Tuya. It's basically black bean. And the Trail of Tears acknowledges that these beans were used probably for hundreds or thousands of years, developed in the Cherokee Nation and Muskogee, and were that European colonizers were not part of that story at all in the development of it. And so good to remember. And same thing with the Jacobs cattle. These were fresh crop from high morning organic seeds. When COVID came, I mailed out the seed packets because the library is closed. And so there's no more sign up that way. And when I did that, I included an heirloom sunflower from a local seed saver, Cassidy. Jacobs cattle dry beans. So Carol was a two-year, a bunch of people were in the project for both years. Jacobs cattle. These are my Cherokees. And I also had a volunteer amaranth forest growing. This was grown in a little community area of our community garden, and where 3 young kids played most of the COVID summer in an amaranth forest. It was fabulous. and the beans did very well too. Jeannie was reluctant to join the project, and after she did, she was really pleased. Kathy's from Save Seed this year. And Kathy, since she's, runs this for 4-H program, she thinks more like kind of I do about documenting and, creating a record of what happened. Lorraine grew both the beans on the left and the heirloom sunflowers. Terry's in a very dry area. Her Cherokees did very well, and the bush beans did not. These were the Cherokees. And she is a member of Seed Savers Exchange and is participating this year in 5 tomato varieties. She's also trying out some new bean varieties. And I will say that everybody who's participated in the project, especially the 2 years, we talked a lot about making sure your harvest is clean and freezing the seeds to reduce any pests that are in there, making sure your seed is good that you're going to share with the community. Frances took on our local Chumash variety of a very old variety of squash. And it's been in our seed. It came into the seed exchange in 2011 from a grower who received the seed from a longtime grower near here. So our quarterly group discussion at the Los Osos Library in May, Pat was there, and she brought, we had an hour and a half discussion about beans on all different ways. You know, how do you prepare them? What do you use them for? Recipes. And Xiaoshan Wang had the most interesting recipe for a breakfast dish made with black beans, black rice, and all black ingredients. So I hope that you will all learn to grow and save a row, one seed, one community. Thank you for attending, and please, the recording will be available in 2 weeks, and please fill in the survey. Thanks.
Well, Luella's jumping on, and I think she's going to bring up a question that Tess has. Go ahead, Luella,
Yes.
if you'd like.
Yeah, Tess asked an excellent question in the chat, which was, what's the time frame, start to finish, of the event?
Well, I wrote in the chat, you can do it year round if you want, because you could do a summer bean and a fall pea, or even lettuce, except for lettuce. We did lettuce. It has very, very small seeds. So if you're engaging with, elementary school kids, that they can be quite small, but it's really up to you. If you can find a fall or early spring crop, you can try that. Yeah, it's really whatever you want it to make it. Elizabeth, you have thoughts?
That's on the time frame for seed crop?
For for one seed, one community. I know Rebecca did it I don't know if it was last year, she did the painted pony bean, and then they rolled right into some pea, which I can't recall.
Oh, right. So you have warm season, cool season. You could easily do 3, with spring crops.
The thing is, it's nice to try and bring it to the school, and so we use beans, but what happens is oftentimes with school's out when the beans are growing. So I tried to do pea. Peas, would be growing when the school is in. I found peas a little more tricky than beans. You probably want to you can grow a fall crop, or at least here, of peas. But spring, I think, is better for seed saving. You're headed into the dry summer, or you may be, at least here you are, and so you won't have any problems like we do here in the fall as you approach the fall moisture with like powdery mildew and stuff. So it's a little harder to save fall crops for seed. If you want to do a cool season, it's probably better in the spring. But it does make it easier to engage young folks in school.
One of the things we had with the Sonora wheat is that there were some teachers a few years ago that were planting it in the spring. So when the school was closed in the summer, someone would take care of it. And then in the fall, they harvested the wheat seed and made bread. So that was a way to get around the school season.
Okay.
Otherwise, the wheat would be ready to harvest when the kids are getting out of school.
Has anyone started a one seed project here? Since there's no school session, summer, yes. Rain, could you do bean mulch harvest in the next fall? Say no matter. So where we likely have about the same amount of rain you could do beans mulch well and harvest in the next fall. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm not really sure about, or comments? Someone gonna try it this summer, grow a one seed program? Anybody looking to do that? Or what else?
Well, this is definitely an opportunity. In New England, I did a little research on plants for a niece there, and some of the nurseries have all this information on when and what you should be planting. So you can ask your local plant dealers, plant nurseries for that information.
Yeah, also, yeah, you can try, for the future, maybe you want to have a bean tasting where people could try different beans to taste and pick one that they might use in the future, or, pick one for the next coming season.
Well, we had a pizza party in the first year of One Seed, One Community. That was really fun. I think beans were on the side, or they weren't ready yet. So we were just getting our taste buds warmed up.
I think you were going to say something, Elizabeth, about the Cherokee bean being boarded to Svalbard. Did you?
Oh, yeah. Well, Joanna might know something about that. But last year, the Cherokee Nation included the Cherokee Trail of Tears being in a 7-seed selection for the Svalbard International Seed Bank. So it's there, safe and sound.
All right. So, does anybody have like seeds that they're thinking about saving? Something they have in their area that's some sort of heritage? And
A seed program for enrolled members. That's really great. Do you want to say something about that, Joanna?
what do we got?
Hi, yes, excuse me. The Cherokee Nation does have a seed program of heritage seeds for enrolled members. And you just contact the tribe if you are a Cherokee Nation member. And yeah, I've been wanting to do this since I talked to Pima last year and heard about it. I was like, this is amazing, because my library already does a One Book, One Tulsa program that has been hugely popular. And I think it would really be great for our seed library, which has done so well, amazingly, during the pandemic. It's the only physical type of item that actually increased in circulation last year. And so I would really love to. And I think starting with Cherokee Trail of Tears would be a great place to start. But before I get into that, I want to talk to more of the tribal librarians in our area and find out and get their feedback, because I want to hear what they have to say.
Mm-hmm. That's great. How many plant varieties are in the program for the seed program?
In the Tulsa library or the Cherokee?
Cherokee.
I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not an enrolled member, and so I haven't gone through their catalog all that carefully. I do try to look at it every few years as I add things to the library's collection, because I work really hard to keep all of we have a lot of different heritages of growing in the area. There's a huge Hmong community There are a lot of Hispanic growers. There's a lot of African American farmers, and so I try to keep at least some representation going through the seed library.
Sounds great.
Thanks.
Somebody had a seed they were thinking about sharing. I'm wondering if they can tell us more about that. The what was it? The Vale Verte pole bean. And is that Jolene? Can Jolene share with us? I don't know how you do that. Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay.
Jolene, you're in Nova Scotia.
Wow.
So if we can figure out how to, can somebody unmute her? The Jacobs cattle bean is from that area originally for hundreds or thousands of years. And it still is fairly localized to Southeast Canada and Northeast US, Maine and Vermont, that area. So I think the tribe is Passamaquoddy that carry that seed, but what do you know about the seed you mentioned?
Yeah, you're unmuted, Jolene. You can speak if you'd like.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I was frantically trying to type it in. I work at the Dalhousie University Faculty of Agriculture. So we've been looking at the possibility of doing a one seed, one community, trying to select from seeds that are culturally relevant to the land we live on. So we live in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and we have a strong Black Nova Scotian community. We have a strong Acadian heritage, and we have a very long immigrant history. So the Bay Verte pulled bean was said to have been a gift by the Maliseet tribe along the St. John River Valley to the Acadiens when they were settling here. So it's very hard to get commercially a lot of years. It's a white bean with a pale beige underside on the C of the curve, and then with pink speckles over it. And it's a very hardy producer. So we're trying to find things that would fit within the stories of our communities and how we've worked together to build on that one community feeling. So the Bay Verte really kind of speaks to us as a gift that has continued to give for a long, long time, and the possibility of rematriating that back to Indigenous communities here if we can produce good quality seed. We're also looking at the Gaspé Flint corn, which is the shortest season Flint corn. The Mi'kmaq people were corn keepers. And their corn is, is 2 to 3 feet high with a couple of small ears, and it I believe 62 days or something like that. So it's by far the shortest season corn, but again, not commercially available. So those were some of the ones we're kind of rolling around as possibilities. But corn with the isolation distances, we thought it would be nice to start with a bean to grow our seed saving skills together before we started heading into the corn direction. And of course, we want to work with our local communities to ensure that we're not selecting a seed that's close to outside communities.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Ken Green's work in Seed Shed?
Yes, we've reviewed it, and we're kind of incorporating it into our guiding principles, but of course, lots more to learn.
Great.
Thank you. This is such a great talk. I'm so grateful.
So Jolene, you've been asked about what the variety was that you named. Can you tell us again?
The corn variety is the Gaspé Flint corn. So Gaspé is Gaspe with an accent aigu over the E.
So So where do you source these seeds if they're, like they're not commercially available?
Well, I tried to pay someone to ship some across the border, but of course, coming from the US, we hit some restrictions. So we are hoping there had been a traditional grower. So we're chasing down leads to try and source that. A lot of times, some of the beans that we've had in our collection in the past, they've come to us from community, but this one seems to have gone so far from community that we're having trouble sourcing it that way.
Um,
Also, Rowan White, the Indigenous Seed Savers Seed Network, has done a lot of work on rematriation, and she is Mohawk. She might be able to help with that.
Wonderful. I've heard her speak, so I'll note that she would be a good resource. It really is interesting. We have very strong small and medium scale seed producers in our region. So they're great supporters when we can bring in seed for producing quantities to go back to community as well. So we're hoping, we can support them, that seed production to continue by helping bring in some of the stories of the seeds and some seeds that are culturally so relevant to the daily lives we live in this territory.
Oh, great.
Thank you.
okay.
Elizabeth, you had one question about that. There was a slide with a great quote about in the middle of your presentation. Grace was wondering if she could get a copy
Oh,
of
the
that.
diversity.
Right. That we all are diversity.
Yeah. I don't know if you can share it without having to share your screen again, but just make it accessible. I bet that would work
Okay.
later after.
Yeah, my back, let's see, share screen, share, I wonder. Wait, I'll just copy it.
I was gonna say, maybe you know it and you can just say it about how we support each other and
Let's see, to everyone. Whoops. No, that was coming here. Okay. No, I'm not much of a rote.
yeah. You're a writer.
I'm not much of a rote learner. I absolutely love the differences in who we are, what we are. I'm entirely in with biodiversity. Kelly and I are both involved with a research project on the kidney bean, and Daniela Soleri is running it. And one person will say, well, what do you think I should do it this way? She said, I don't care. Do it whatever way you do it. It's fine. Just make a note of what you did and make a note of what amendments you put in your soil. And everybody I know, when we first started meeting, there were 15 of us in the room, and we set up a gardening problem. What happened? What do you do if this? And there were 15 different solutions. And that's how I roll, is that we all think differently. We grew up differently. We have a different way of looking at the world. Thank you. So, yeah, there it is.
Well, as you said, we are diversity. So
we are just like apple seeds.
Yeah, so if each of us are saving together, then we added that diversity just by the way we grow.
And that's why when we got back over 15 pounds of the beans, creates a really strong genetic base because it came from different places, different soils, different growing ways to grow, and a lot of plants. So beans only need 20 plants for genetic strength. And if you have 100 plants, you're really helping that variety.
Yeah.
We're at 2:01, people.
Any
Any
other
more questions?
questions, thoughts, something that they're thinking about doing? All right. Yeah,
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for all the work that you do. Please
Uh-huh.
keep doing it. Yes. Take care.
Okay.
Okay.